Hello and welcome to Coffee with Dr. Carla. I'm Dr. Carla. This is Amanda, and we are so glad that you're here with us today. Our hope is to talk about some mental health related issues and start to end the stigma surrounding them. Okay, so this is an interesting topic, and it's one that a lot of people don't understand, including the medical field, for that matter. How does one navigate chronic pain and addiction?
Ooh,
Right?
yes.
Yeah, I mean,
So I think everyone navigates it differently because this is a unique experience to all of us, but we are all facing a lot of the same struggles within it. So I'm just going to share some of my story, which I'm hoping people can relate to, or it may make them think about something different.
I think it would be really helpful to
Yeah.
hear where addiction came from, how it became present in your life.
Okay.
I think it
Yep.
would really make a difference for people.
So, chronic pain, for my definition, is pain that is there more of the time than it's not.
Right.
I've had it for the last 20 years. It started in my teens. And at the time, when I was a teenager, there were not all these restrictions around narcotics. It was still the time where a lot of the hydrocodones were like given more like candy
Yep.
at this
Oh, you
time.
ran out? Here, we'll get you some more.
Right. So
Yeah.
there was no like 10, it has to be a written script. And if you need a refill, it's like, so none of that. So I was given the pain pills in my late teens. Um, and my chronic pain is invisible. It's not something that people can see. They think I look like a normal person, should be able to get a lot done. And when I was in college, I really wanted to fit in. I didn't want anybody to know there was anything wrong with me. I just wanted that part to be my little secret because I guess I worried if people knew it about me, they would think less than me,
Sure.
that I wasn't capable. And so to keep up with my studies and work and social life, I would pop some extra pills before going out. And then if that didn't numb, which most of the time that didn't numb the pain, I would then drink on top of it.
Right.
And it is a miracle that I survived with mixing substances like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can look back at it now and recognize a young woman who was doing the best she can to survive. I actually
Right.
can look back at it and not feel like, ooh, you were bad or ooh, you shouldn't have done that. I understand that that was a young woman just trying to numb her pain
And
and
sadly, the
survive.
stigma was so strong about admitting that
Hmm.
you had this chronic pain, right? That you did what seemed socially acceptable in order to hide it even further, right?
Yes.
So I mean, it's a horrible catch-22 situation for sure.
Yeah, and so navigating, because I knew I was taking too many pills. I knew that something wasn't working because the pain wasn't better, and I knew that I wanted a bigger life than this. And I went to a lot of physical therapists, and a lot of naturopathy. I tried different pain doctors, and I had medical insurance through my healthcare, and I spent a lot of money and a lot of out of pocket. I'm
Yeah.
also a white woman where people tend to believe me more than other people. So I recognize that I had more privileges going into this,
Right.
but the things I was being given were still often dangerous. And so what I had to find was the people and professionals who understood my type of pain, my story, who could recognize my pain but also help me navigate what's best for it. So I had a doctor literally sit me down and say, "You need your pain medication. Your pain is real, but we need to untangle all this other stuff around it."
Right.
So
And
we haven't got
so
into the sobriety
I
part
was
yet.
going to say, because I was going to say, like, while that's
Yeah.
great to recognize,
Yep.
but if you start a pattern of
Mm-hmm.
numbing, how do you undo that pattern? Because sobriety is not easy because
Yep.
here you have medical professionals saying you need this medication.
Exactly. So stigma came in here big time. So I could recognize that I needed help. I recognized that I needed rehab. And I was not going to tell my employer I was taking time off to go to rehab. I was not going to tell my family. Nobody was going to know that. But what I could do was I could go to therapy. And so I remember being like, I just need a life rehab. I just need to just get my life together. I just need to stop the drinking, do more yoga, and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And that was when we started doing sobriety clocks, and I couldn't get past 4 days. I could not go 4 days without a drink. Sometimes it was for pain. Sometimes it was just to be social, to not, I don't know what it was. And so I did end up getting sober, and it took an army, and it took really listening to the universe and putting the right teachers and people in my life. So between therapy, Alcoholics Anonymous, different yoga teachers, different friends, different pieces of these toolkits, women I met in the recovery spaces, all
Right.
kind of came together to help me get sober. But then, and during that time, I did an amends to with my doctors. I have it in my file what I can and can't take. And I was very honest, which again, I think is a privilege that I felt like I could be that honest and still believe. I recently had a surgery, and they were great with how they navigated that with me and the pain medication. But what I was going to say is 2 years into my sobriety, I had some more health challenges pop up. And the way that I needed to maintain this was looking at other options. So they were giving me different kind of medications that weren't opioids. But was it okay for me to take hormones, nerve blocks, other things that they were taking off label? It didn't feel right. It still felt like I was putting substances in that weren't helping. And through research and a lot of talking, I ended up going into medical marijuana,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
which like
Which, you and I have a particular view on,
Mhm.
which we think is awesome if you use it medicinally and you're following prescriptions and et cetera, et cetera. But we also know that that is not a widely held
Yes.
opinion, especially in the medical field. There's some people who are really hardcore against it. Yeah.
Yes, and I've met some of them, and and I've had lots of conversations, but it has been game changing for me. It was a tool that allowed me to get off of other pharmaceuticals, because I still believe we kind of with pharmaceuticals, there's lots that goes into what's available and what's not, and who's to
Right.
say those pharmaceuticals are the best for me? So that was a path I went down that has worked for me. But what I was going to say, the one piece of this, because I know a lot of people in recovery would say if you are putting marijuana into your system, you're not sober.
Right. You're an
So
addict.
exactly, and I am an
Mhm.
addict, and I
But
know,
right, but yeah, and they want to make sure or the other one is you're dry drunk, right? Yeah. So
and I know if I put alcohol in my system, if I put an opioid in my system, like that's game over for me. And that fear is real. I believe that. But what I was gonna say is, I had to be radically honest, is what I learned. AA and my counseling taught me I needed to be radically honest, and my sponsor at the time had said to me, your sobriety comes first. If you can't stay sober, you can't fix your pain. And I said, if I can't manage my pain, I can't stay sober.
right,
And that was a big thing. And that was a disconnect between her and I. And that kind of put me in a path of talking to other people, talking to my other connections, my other support system, being radically honest. Am I taking this marijuana because I might kind of get a high and I can cover it? No, I never took anything to get me a high. It was to manage the physical pain.
right.
And so it was that radical honesty, even with different medications. Why am I taking this? Do I need this pain pill right? Do I need this little thing right now? Do I need this thing to help me with my pain? Or am I just trying to numb because I have a big meeting at work that I'm nervous of, or I have a big social thing?
Which is a really different way of looking at things,
Mhm.
right? And if we're honest with ourselves, it's kind of scary because that means that, more often than not, we're saying, no, I'm not going to take that. And then you have to deal with whatever pain you're
Mhm.
dealing with at that moment, right?
And I think one of the scary things, and I think a lot of people who struggle with addiction would say this, is one of our number one enemies is isolation. So I noticed, especially with the pandemic and just being, less in contact with people, really easy for me to skirt around some of the truths or be somewhat honest.
Sure, because who's going to see it?
Right.
Right, yeah,
And so when I start to isolate, it's like a little, and this is why, again, the toolkit, and it's like a little flag of like, I need to reach out to somebody. Am I really being truly honest? So in some ways, I'm talking about this and I'm like, it's kind of burdensome how much I'm actually thinking about what am I taking? Why am I taking it? Is it helping me? But it is that radical honesty that not only keeps me true to my sobriety and what it means to me, because I believe I get to define it. There's not some rule of this is what sober is. But then it also helps me connect with my body somatically.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a tough road to navigate, right? Especially when you have
Hmm.
professionals who think that you're doing the wrong thing,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, they will tell you addicts lie, alcoholics lie, you can't trust yourself. But at some point in my healing, if I didn't start trusting myself, I don't know where that would have taken me.
I think that's a huge piece of advice. Huge piece of advice. So remember, you can change your thoughts, discover your potential, and transform your life by focusing on your overall well being. So until next time, continue working on being the best you possible. Bye now.